If you're looking for your next great mountain bike destination that offers just about everything, put Sandpoint, Idaho at the top of your list. The Lower Basin Trail System serves up world-class riding through towering timber and across massive granite rock slabs, with trails for every rider, from technical black diamond descents to fast, flowy cross-country loops. For excellent park-style riding, head up to Schweitzer Mountain Resort with dedicated downhill trails and e-bike access to more than 24 trails. Or pedal from town to the Pine Street Woods system where the trails range from flowy to technical. When you're ready to take a break from the trails, Lake Pend Oreille is right there with camping, boating, swimming, and even stand-up paddleboarding. And after a big day outdoors, head into the town of Sandpoint, where you'll find a great selection of bars and restaurants to relax and refuel. Get all the details to plan your perfect getaway at visitsandpoint.com. The trails and the good times are waiting for you when you visit Idaho. Hey everybody, welcome to the Single Tracks Podcast. I'm your host, Jeff Barber, and today we're heading to the southeast to talk about one of the biggest mountain bike trail systems in Alabama and a true destination for riders across the region, Coldwater Mountain in Anniston, Alabama. With dozens of miles of purpose-built trails, Coldwater has become a cornerstone for the local riding community and a magnet for visitors. Behind the scenes, it takes a lot of planning and hard work to keep a network like this in great shape. That responsibility falls to Marcus Tillman, who works with the Northeast Alabama Bicycle Association and is the Recreation Trail Director for Coldwater Mountain. Today we'll hear from Marcus about what it takes to maintain such a large system, what's involved, and what's in store for riders in the coming months. Marcus, welcome to the podcast.
Oh, it's great to be here, man. It's good to see you, Jeff.
So, to start, I believe your unofficial title is Trail Boss at Coldwater Mountain. Is that right?
That is. I think there's a trail boss for every trail system that I've ever been affiliated with, whether you're in Florida or Washington.
Yeah.
I like to call myself Trail Guru. That's
okay.
That's my kind of my call sign. It's the password for almost everything I am.
Uh-oh. Sharing that to everybody now. But yeah, cool. So what exactly, I mean, you mentioned that a lot of trails have that role, that responsibility of trail boss. What does a trail boss do on a day-to-day basis?
Other than be grumpy and fuss at people for tearing the trails up?
Yeah. Yeah, and we'll get into that. I want to hear the dirt, but yeah, what's the day-to-day like?
Well, I can't remember. I saw it or read it or heard it on a podcast, is that every trail boss, trail director, trail czar, whatever you want to call them, it's almost like they have the same personality. They work hard. They took an interest in the sport, and they're kind of a giving heart, a service heart. And that is a common theme of everyone. Not all are grumpy, but
they don't start out that way. Maybe.
Well, I'm a pretty nice guy, but some people have probably called me grumpy. It's when I see somebody doing something silly or kind of stupid, I will say something now. I used to probably not say something to them, but now it's just so important to me. I'm like, that's going to create an erosional issue.
Oh, yeah. So your position, though, maybe, which is a little unique from other clubs, it's a paid position, right? So how did that come to be, and how does that work out?
Well, Coldwater was not always here. In 2010, 2011, we invited Trail Solutions come in, and it was actually through Sorba. We had just joined Sorba, and Tom Swarett saw this piece of property, and it was actually kind of his thought process to begin Coldwater. So as most trail systems, volunteers do it. Anniston is a fairly small town, about 22,000 people. The county only has about 115, 120, so it's a pretty remote area. And honestly, the next 5 counties around us don't add up to 150 more thousand people. So volunteering was tough, but we all saw the potential. When we brought in Rich Edwards and his team, Joey Klein, Chris K. Meyer, all the big dogs with Trail Solutions at the time. They laid out a conceptual plan approaching 100 miles.
Wow.
It was really in the 70s and 80s, but then as the Forever Wild Land Trust bought more in holdings, we saw the potential for more trails.
Wow.
So you said we had dozens. We actually have 56-ish.
Yeah.
Within a half mile.
Wow.
And then, of course, crosstown, McClellan has 18.
Yeah.
So at 35 miles, we realized that a volunteer crew probably couldn't do it. And if we reached any potential of getting to that 100 miles, we were going to need a paid crew. And, Walmart in Bentonville was beginning to set a standard for a paid trail crew.
Yeah.
So we're like, well, we probably can't do it on that scale, but let's see what we can do. So we spoke to the city leaders of Anniston, and they were in agreement. Cycling, the Sunny King Criterium had been here for a number of years. They saw a lot of potential for tourism dollars, and you saw a lot of bikes, mountain bikes on the back of cars.
Yeah.
So they saw it. They got it. They weren't anti-cycling and anti-outdoors. So they voted to create my position, Recreation Trail Director. And like we discussed before the podcast, it was, where do you put this guy? Where do you put this position?
Yeah.
And, I'm not in the street department. And technically, this is not a park. It's not city-owned. But that's kind of the closest thing they had. So I'm in the Parks and Recreation Department. I do have a supervisor, and he answers to the Parks and Rec director. And sometimes I deal directly with the Parks and Rec director because, these people don't really ride, but they see the usefulness of it.
Yeah.
And I really attacked my position with passion. So, I had zero tools, but now I got a truck and a trailer and all the hand tools, and then I got a UTV, and then most recently I purchased an excavator, a mini X for me.
Wow!
So that sits on top of the mountain, and then a track dumper. So it's a momentum thing, and I'm really digging it.
How long have you been doing it? Full time?
We started. They hired me technically June of 2018.
Okay.
So the discussions for this position probably started in the 2016 area, 2017. Takes a while.
What were you doing before? Were you just like a very enthusiastic volunteer? Or?
Well, I've reinvented myself a few times.
Okay.
So I grew up on the Gulf Coast of Alabama in a little town called Biola Battery. And I never wanted to be a shrimper. I did that one time, and I was like, no, not for me. I was going to be a supply boat captain for the oil rigs, and I really was going to pursue that. I pushed it pretty hard, and my dad sat me down, and he's like, son, those guys have a tough life. They're gone all the time. You'll never see your kids. Why don't we look at going to college? And I looked at him, and I said, well, I graduated 6 months ago, and I've never taken a college prep course.
Yeah.
So I went in, I sat down for the ACT and made just good enough and got a degree in business management, accounting, actually. Tried that for a year and a half, and anybody who knows me would be shocked to think that I would sit in an office all day long and look at numbers. Yeah.
We should mention too at this point, we're sitting outside, like we're at the trailhead.
We are.
Yeah.
Isn't this great?
Yeah.
And it's
you're out here
all day, every day.
Yeah.
Of course, starting in June, probably, you almost melt when you're outside.
Yeah.
So I got that degree and did not like it. So I went back to the campus at South Alabama and I was just looked at anything. What can I do? And I liked people. And then I jumped into the restaurant business. And I worked for a company called Piccadilly for 16 years. And then
cafeteria.
I had my own cafeteria. Yeah. They were based in Baton Rouge.
Okay.
So that was close by. And they open at 11. They close at 8:30. No alcohol. If you're going to be in a restaurant business, that's not a bad gig.
Right.
And they had a pretty good projection on, if you do these things, you'll move up and you'll be a manager this day, and that's really good. And then they filed bankruptcy, and I had my own place for 8 years, and I do not recommend that. It's a good way to lose all your money.
Yeah.
And we did. So kind of had to punt after we closed the restaurant in 2011. One of my regular customers was a car dealer, and he asked me if I wanted to come work for him. And I never sold stuff, but I like people and I like talking to them. So that servant's heart, it goes back to that. I was very successful at that. I made more money than I ever made in my life.
Really?
Yeah. So my mom got sick, and I was like, well, I need to take care of her. Mm-hmm. So I spent a few years taking care of my mother, and we had an elderly friend who was a customer. And basically, I worked for them, and I remodeled homes with a friend and painted and just did whatever.
Yeah.
And worked on the trails a lot.
Yeah.
And
were you a rider, or were you more into the trail maintenance side of it?
Well, I got into cycling to keep my legs in shape for snow skiing. Oddly enough, growing up on the coast, I'd never seen a snowflake. But
snow skier. Huh.
A friend I grew up with was stationed in Montana. And I fell in love with the mountains and with skiing. And so the salt water was no longer going to be in my veins. I was going to be a mountain person from then on. But in the mid-'90s, I got into the cycling and racing immediately. It's that kind of person. It's fairly competitive. My first big race was the 24 Hours of Canaan. That was in 96, I think. And I loved it. I loved the people. It was crazy because that back then it was in June. Mm-hmm. And I can still remember my first night lap climbing to the top of the Timberline lift, and it was snowing on me.
Whoa.
Yes. Wow. So it sleeted and then it snowed, and I loved it. I mean, we raced in sweatshirts, and I mean, it was just a total beginner, newbie. I had nothing that cyclists would have now. The wool was not there. So, if you can love that as the trails, of course the trails were terrible, and the bikes were terrible. So that was a good match. So, as things improved, now it's great. So I was riding a lot, and then I liked working on the trails. I'd always worked on the trails. The guy who got me into it was across the street there in Virginia. I lived in Virginia at the time. And he said, well, if you're going to ride the trails, you're going to work on the trails. And I'm like, okay, I'm good with that. So, no dig, no ride. Yeah. That's an unpopular statement nowadays, but, it's there, and I certainly believe it.
Yeah, it's a common...
Well, we've spoiled our new riders. So it's a lot of the people who've gotten into the sport in the last probably 8 to 10 years. The trails were here. The government helped through grants or whatever, helped build them. Nobody had to go out here. We paid guys a lot of money to build the trails and design them. And then now there's a guy that's paid to maintain them, so they just want to come out and ride. And that, you can't hardly blame them. Yeah. I mean, the trails are here. I actually have a couple of them that feel so guilty they make donations because they're like,
there's a donation box here. Yeah, is that
not coming out, not helping, not picking up a rake, but I'll give you $100. How about that?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, what is the need at this point for a trail system like Coldwater? I mean, this is your full-time thing.
Well, I'm one guy.
Yeah, but you're one guy.
I'm one guy, 56 miles, and this year was the first year that I actually designed and built trails. I built the 2-mile Leadville Express, the exit for the Leadville race that takes you into town. Okay. And then we've got another trailhead that's in a community called Glen Addy that's it connects you to the Ladiga Trail. Okay. So we're actually now connected to the infrastructure via dirt trails because I went in and designed and built those trails.
What was there before? I mean, was it just woods?
Just woods.
Cut it straight. Wow.
Just woods. There was a housing project there. I had had the issues that housing projects have. And it was torn down maybe 3 years ago, maybe 4. It's now just a grassy field. It's and it covers a couple of blocks. And then the community center that serviced that community was remodeled as a clinic, for I reckon financially challenged people. It's called the Dr. David Satcher Clinic. David Satcher was the Surgeon General, and he grew up in Anniston. And so the far south overflow parking is now kind of our trailhead. It's gonna have a kiosk. It's gonna have a map.
That's a different one
water
from the existing Anniston trailhead.
Yes, and most people don't know that it's there. It's actually now on Google. Okay. I don't know who loaded that up. I've loaded everything else up, but I didn't load that. But it's the Dr. David Satcher trailhead, and it is typical for Coldwater. If you get out of your car, you're climbing immediately,
which I prefer. I mean, the main trailhead where we are right now is up at the top, and this was the first one that was built. Right?
Yes, yeah.
But that makes it tough because you have a lot of fun, you go downhill, and then you don't realize how tired you are to have to get back up to your car.
Well, you're right. Now, you can cheat. Now the climb is if you do bomb dog. Right. So if you like to do bomb dog,
which everybody does, especially your first time.
Yes, you almost have to do it. It's the iconic trail. It's kind of what we're known for, and it was redone. Flow Motion brought in a young man named Trace, and I can't think of his last name. He was out of North Carolina. He's been involved with a lot of this stuff. It's in Pisgah. Old Fort.
Yeah.
I think he's done a lot of stuff.
Collective trails.
He's done a lot of stuff for them, a lot of the dirt work for them. I think he did a pretty good job. That anytime I go in to disturb one of our iconic trails, whether it's Bomb Dog or Hare or Goldilocks, I'm pretty nervous.
Yeah.
It's, the guy, I know the people who designed it and built it, and, I can't tote their water. So it's,
yeah.
It's pretty nerve wracking. So I try to just replicate
you go in
it.
there?
Well,
for maintenance,
it's a very rocky, sandy soil here. So you do have erosion. I mean, so I try to mitigate erosion by opening up the drains and blading stuff out, nicking things out with hand tools. But you have a pile of rocks that used to be a nice fun roller, and now it's just a pile of rocks, and it doesn't make any sense. So,
and that just happens over time. I mean, I think when trails were first being built, or maybe they weren't even built, we were riding old hiking trails, and there wasn't a lot of thought put into erosion and how that was going to wear.
Yeah,
and
remember the logging roads that have a water bar?
Right, water
and
bars.
they'd launch you, you go airborne.
Yeah. But now, we've gotten to the point where there are things you can do to design the trail to make it more sustainable and make sure that it drains and you don't have as many erosion issues, but you're never going to get rid of that, right? I mean,
never. That's what did Rich Edwards say? He said it's a sustainable trail. It's not maintenance free.
Yeah. Yeah. Unless we pave it. And then people hate that.
That just shocked my whole conscience, kind of coming up through the type of trails I rode. Yeah. And then when I went to Bentonville, the trails that I sessioned the most were paved.
Yeah. They're a lot of fun to ride. Yeah.
They were pretty darn fun. And I was like, we could do this, in places. Because, Coldwater is, we have McClellan, right? We built McClellan. I think that was 6 years ago. We started the design of that. So it's been open 5. So it really hasn't gone through the erosion.
And that was designed to be more like a NICA.
It is a purpose-built NICA. The loop is. And now we have gone in and put some blues in there and some more challenging, some trails. But it just hasn't experienced the erosion, of course, that Coldwater has. But if you come to Coldwater, the expectation is you know how to ride your bike. Yeah. And I don't mean getting on your bike and pedaling across the parking lot. That's not what I'm talking about. You understand, bike body separation. You know your limitations as far as your aerobic capacity because, most people don't realize you come to Coldwater and there is no traversing, very little traversing.
Right.
This is the Baby Bear Trail. It's 1 mile. You get off it, you're either going down or up,
Yeah.
and you, to get to the start of Bomb Dog from this parking lot is a 5-mile climb. So you need to understand, what can I do? I don't want to get into dire straits.
Yeah.
So shifting, braking, and if you hit any of these features at speed, you probably should have a good understanding of what it feels like to be airborne.
Yeah.
Even if it's for a half second, or 1 second, you can dead sailor anything. So a true beginner to come out to Coldwater, unless they're just a Tasmanian devil and just, they want, they love to have the heck scared out of them. It's unpleasant. It can be disconcerting. I've seen
Not
it.
the place to bring a friend who's never ridden before.
Unless you don't want them to be your friend anymore. You take them to McClellan and they'll enjoy themselves. It's, it's wider. It's a much lower slope. The Trail Cassidy, which if you're going to ride Bomb Dog, you have to climb Cassidy. It's a 7% average grade.
Yeah.
And I don't think I realized how steep it was till I was out there redoing it. I call it heavy touch-up, with an excavator.
Yeah.
There are several, probably 15-degree pitches.
Wow.
That are,
Yeah.
they're not long, 50 feet, but one after the other, and
Yeah.
you don't realize it as you're riding that until you get on it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot of work out here. And so one of the things I wanted to ask about too is I've noticed there is a lot of there's emergency stuff out here, right? So there's markings for access. So if there is somebody gets into trouble, there's also at least one, maybe more water stations where you've got
3
water
now.
out there?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us about
And
that.
then
Have there been issues over time with people?
Well, actually, when the city manager was talking to me about the job, he said, I don't ride, but one of the issues we've had is emergency response. We have Station 2 for the Anniston Fire Department is where the mountain rescue equipment resides.
Okay.
That's a 50-foot trailer, a couple of UTVs. One has a gurney. I think they just recently purchased some e-bikes. But, in 2012, we had our first big wreck when we went, and I won't give her name
It was
away.
a year
it was
after.
a broken humerus,
Ooh.
compound. It took several hours to get to her and get her off the mountain.
Wow.
So they realized they had a problem.
Yeah.
So they began to train more, and you rock on, and there are some old road beds here, and some of them are they're logging roads. There are some quarry roads. This mountain has been used off and on since we've been here for 150 more years. So I decided that the city manager wanted me to help the fire department in their response time in 911. So I began to kind of ride these roads and I clear them. I cleared them with a chainsaw, and as I was driving them, I would have either Strava or one of the GPS apps rolling. Same with the trails. And so we formed a map.
Okay.
And this map can be is overlaid with GIS data with the trails. And so Rich and his crew had given each one of these service roads a number, an R number, so it's not can be confused with the trails. So there's, R9 and R19, 14, whatever. And so I made signs and put all of that up. And then I started working with the fire department. So Station 2 has three-man teams. Okay. So they rotate as their shifts. So I try to keep them trained. Of course, attrition happens. So then I made them their own map. So they have a map with all of the rescue roads and the trails overlaid. Okay. And one of their ideas was to come up with some numbers to identify where you could be on the trail. And there's no defined distance between the numbers. Each one though is a address in the 911 system.
Huh. Okay.
So there's a little device called a tremble unit. You walk up, you stand next to the post, and you triangulate with 5 satellites. It loads into the system, and then it's produced and sent to the Calhoun County 911 mapping system. Huh. So that gives them an idea of where you are. And I can tell you that CWM 125 is the first mandatory rock roll on Bomb Dog.
Okay.
And just past there is the first triage area.
Yeah.
Because
is that the most popular? Do you have data on that, like where most of the calls are coming from? Or?
There's a lot of people who crash there. You know, it's it'll especially when we had more cross-country geometry. Bikes today hit it, and it's not too bad.
Huh.
You know, everything's raked back, and you can kind of just, and you have dropper posts and big wide bars. But almost every year when I'm cleaning that area up, I blow it because it's in the landing. It just piles leaves. There's always bike parts. There's Garmin's in there. Bottles. There's water bottles.
Garmin's, multiple Garmin's.
There's let's see, there are brake levers. You know, brake levers break in a crash. You know, there's helmet parts. You know, it's really pretty. It's amazing. We haven't had anybody really hurt too bad there.
Yeah,
that's collarbones and ribs and the concussions and you know, and a broken arm here and there. The only trauma that we've had 6 of them, is off the trail called Oval Office.
Okay.
It is.
I call it kind of remote. I feel like it's harder to get to.
Well, as the trail develops, and it's because it's as far east as you can go.
Yeah.
But now, you know, we're trying to kind of develop that area. And I call Oval Office the old man jump line. You know, it's not ramped up like these new hits. You know, you can hit it at 20 miles an hour and you're in the air and it's like, woo, you're not very far up.
Yeah.
But, you know, when we first opened, it was an oddity. We had no jump lines here really at Coldwater. So you would be out riding on a cross-country, basically flow trail system, and then all of a sudden you have this really wide jump line, and it would kind of lure you in because the first set is just rollers and some doubles, and and then you make that turn, and you know Randy Spengler was the guy who he went in and built it for us, and he put 3 tables in there, and that's been disaster for some riders.
Yeah. And I feel like not many people get out there too. So if you're out there and you have a problem, I mean, you might not have a friend with you or nobody's going to come for a while.
Well, nobody, if you're unconscious, right. But if you can call, and if you're smart, you know, you have that thing set so that it calls 911 automatically.
Do you get a lot of those calls? Do you know if the rescue folks do?
The rescue folks do, and actually as the crow flies, that's the closest trail to Station 2.
Well, that's convenient.
They could almost see you.
Oh, wow.
If they walked outside the door. So the access there is pretty easy. You open a gate and you go up a power line. You turn onto the trail, and it's wide enough that their buggies, they can drive right to you. And that's really unusual. Like in Pisgah, they can't get to you on a lot of those things, and it could be hours. So here's the next part of the training and the maps and the grid sheet. And I made a grid sheet recommending if a rider is here, you take the trailer to this location, open the gate code is this, and you take this road to this road, and they'll be up there on the right. Yeah. So that grid sheet is on their map. It's recommendations for them. Our goal is 30 minutes from the time the 911 dispatch calls them. They need to be standing over you in 30 minutes. Okay. And the explanation is, you know, we've never had a complaint about the firefighters once they got there. Right. But we have had some people who crashed, and it's an hour and a half. You know, and that's a long time.
That's scary.
Be laying in the dirt, you know. sometimes you're bleeding. You're almost always bleeding.
Yeah.
Something, maybe not, bad, but, you got contusions that hurt. Everything's starting to thump. A broken bone is now just, it's just almost, you can't hardly stand it. So that's the explanation I give to the firefighters when I go in for their training is, this person, I know you had 2 a year. You have 2 last year, or you had 6, I know it doesn't happen often, but, it's not a burning building. You're not going to have to dress up and go in and put your life on the line. But that person laying in the dirt, you're their lifeline.
Yeah.
Because how mountain bikers are. We're so stubborn. It's like, oh, well, the arm's just hanging there. I think I can walk on out. If they've called you, they're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Well, for me, I'm a pretty cautious rider, but the area where I get in trouble is I don't always have enough water, or I'll run out of water unexpectedly. And this is a place that it can get hot in the summer for sure. And even here, we're sitting at the trailhead. There's no running water here.
No,
that I know of.
Forever Wild, they kind of frown on that. And it's funny because you drive through Anniston Water Department property until that last turn right down there.
Yeah.
So I was going to get to that. I get sidetracked. So the firefighters began to have calls, especially during COVID. We didn't shut this down. So we had people from Florida and Georgia, Tennessee. A lot of people came here. And then you had a lot of local people just wanting to get out of the house. Well, even though we have pretty good maps, they make a wrong turn.
Yeah.
And they're out on the mountain for
maps are great,
way
but
longer.
People don't know how to read topo maps. I feel like you don't realize, it's like
we chose
looks
not
close.
Yeah, we chose not to put the topo lines on our maps that are on the mountain. And of course, Trail Forks, it is very, very good. I'm an admin with Trail Forks, so it's updated almost immediately every time we have something. But anyway, the firefighters came to me and said, we have a lot of people and they don't have water. Is there anything that you can do to help us with that? And I'm like, well, I think so. I've been eyeballing a couple of these boxes and they're in a recycle pile there at the motor pool. So I pulled them out and cleaned them up, painted them green, stenciled water on them. And I'd grab some from the club. I'd go buy some myself. And now Patrick Wigley at Wiggs Wheels and Clint and Brooklyn Payne from Coldwater Camping Cabins have stepped up. They provide the water that you see at these water boxes. And they're kind of strategically placed. They're not at the bottom of the hill,
Right. That makes sense.
So
you want it at the top.
You climb. Yeah. And then Southern Traverse is our new trail. It was built really to give us the full loop for the Leadville race, but it has a lot of purposes. So, it's so remote. It's 9 miles long just by itself. It's on the south facing.
And it's called Traverse, and I've ridden it, and there's still a lot of climbing on it. It comes in fits, right? It's not.
It does,
but it's not flat.
No, there's nothing flat about it.
Yeah.
I took a little flack because I named it Southern Traverse, but what are you going to call it? I mean, we've had some, we can't say them on the podcast because they're dirty words, after people have ridden it with their acoustic bike. But if you're on an e-bike, man, it's great. Yeah, I love it.
It's fine.
So about midways through the trail, there's a tower road that goes to the towers that sit up top there. And, I built a box and put it on there. And, 2 weeks ago, I was my e-bike was down. It was in the shop, and I was riding my acoustic bike. And a friend of mine who's not ridden Southern Traverse, he's thin, built like you. Hasn't really been riding that much, but we were out there, and buddy, I overheated. It was one of those days when it was 95, humidity was bad. I didn't eat and drink the way I was supposed to, and here I was pouring water on my head. Trying to get off the mountain. I
thought the water's for drinking. You're pouring it on your head.
I thought so. I thought so too. And I talked to Wig, and he said, I drank a bottle and I poured one on my head. It was just so hot the last few weeks. This feels so good. We're sitting out here. What is it, 80, 81?
Is the high, but right now
this feels so nice.
Yeah. Well, so, as a trail boss, I'm curious to know, like, what's one thing you wish that riders knew that would make your job easier? Like, if you could tell everybody that rolls up here to the trailhead, give them one piece of advice that'd make your job easier, what would that be?
Wow. What could the riders do? That's a tough one. Tough one.
I mean, skidding, I don't know. There's like obvious stuff, but is that even a problem?
Well, oddly enough, we don't close Coldwater to almost anything for a while. Doesn't really want it closed. And we really don't have to. If you've ridden out here, even in a pouring rain,
Guilty. I've done that.
I mean, it's a sandy dirt soil. There's a lot of rock. Certainly it does erode. We're not saying it doesn't erode, but I don't think a tire rolling on it, even in a pouring rain, has much of an effect on it. It's the freeze thaw, oddly enough, and really the freeze thaw in areas where I've just built, where I've just dug a bunch of dirt out of a borrow pit and stacked it and tried to tried to rebuild what Rich and the guys had built initially. We have not had freeze thaw for a number of years, but the last two winters we've had about a week of freeze thaw, and it was awful. I had to deal with it when I lived in Virginia, but freeze thaw is just not something that we deal with that much here.
I mean, to people listening in like northern areas, they're like, "Oh yeah, that's a huge problem."
Here,
but here, it's not.
No, it's typically not. Our friends from up north would usually come here during the winter because they'd have to deal with just terrible stuff. But it literally felt in some places like oil was mixed with the dirt. You just could not stay vertical on the bike. You could not stay up. It was just, it was not fun at all. So now I know why they come down here. So freeze thaw. I suppose, if you ride out and you're making a rut, turn around. It's just not worth it. It's probably not going to be very fun anyway. You're not going to be able to set any Strava records for sure.
Well, I guess another issue that I've heard about, and maybe you've dealt with this here, maybe you haven't, but is people making their own edits to the trail, doing maintenance, things that they think is going to help, but actually is not, or other people are going to be upset about it.
You always have the occasional ride around. Somebody, there's like on Chillowy has a couple of places where the rock garden is fairly challenging, and I probably should go in. It's eroded a little bit. They're a little more rocky than they were. You can sink a tire, get a tire stuck in between a rock. But they do go around. They'll widen the trail.
When you see those, when you see a ride around, is that kind of telling you that, hey, I need to do something to the trail because people are riding around?
Sometimes it's what do they call themselves? Enduro bros. They just want to just straight line the whole trail. So it depends. I've kind of taken the position that if it's not an erosion issue, if it's not going to create erosion for me and create an issue, or if it's just really unattractive, I don't do much about it. But the next time I may change my mind. The next time I'm in that area with an excavator, I may go grab a tree and drag it and put it in place and block it. I may go, if someone was bypassing the squirrel catcher on rock slot. So rock slot.
That's the whole point of the squirrel catcher.
The rock slot squirrel catcher was rock. And, there's nothing beyond that point that's green. You can get to that point and you take a left on Bullfrog and you can come back down. You can have an easier way around. But rock slot is one of the especially just past that point, it gets a little steep. And there are the most technical climbs on the mountain are on that trail, and then it leads into Bomb Dog, which if you're a green rider, inexperienced rider, don't like rocks, don't feel comfortable flying through the air, you really don't have any business on Bomb Dog. I mean, unless you just want to walk with your bike.
So hard though, because that's the trail. Everybody that's heard of Coldwater, they're like, you have to ride Bomb Dog. But if you're not a confident rider, you don't.
You'll walk a lot of Bomb Dog if you're not a confident rider. It's people have asked why we don't have more black diamond trails here, and then after they ride here, especially the people from flatter areas, Florida, Mississippi, South Alabama, they're like, you really don't have any green trails here, and I'm like,
I was going to ask about black diamond trails, because I feel like this is a rider psychology kind of question too, like ride arounds, where every time I ride out here, I like riding Gaza, but every time I go, it's almost overgrown. I mean, it's like nobody rides it, but I'm sure you also hear from lots of people that are like, we need more hard trails.
You're right. And Gaza was, it used to be really bad overgrown. And then I would go out and, it has those, I don't know, it's a half dozen places where it's exposed in the grass.
Especially at the top. Tall.
So I've made it a point. I went in and I've sprayed it with some stuff to make sure that you can get through it, you can see it, because it is one of those trails, especially in the fall. I do go in and blow it, and people fuss, well, why do you blow trails? I'm like, well, you wouldn't see it if I didn't blow it.
I feel like, this is not a criticism of you. This is nobody's riding it. That's why it needs to be maintained that way.
It's a very hard trail, and when a true expert rider is going to go out there and just kill it. He's going to be just fine. And you're a very good rider. You're going to do just fine on it.
Okay, I can make it down. Okay, I can
but
make it down.
But if you're tentative, I mean, I had a guy, probably he rode it more than anyone, and he was on a fully rigid bike with 2.8 tires. Oh, yeah. He'd just go up there and just kill it.
Wow.
And then I have people that have 170 travel bikes, and they walk the rock gardens. So it's not ridden that much. So I don't spend a ton of time on it. I clear the trees, I get those and when they're reported. But you're right. That was one of those trails that was built before I had this job, and Randy Spengler built that also. And he was out there with his excavator. What an amazing guy, an amazing builder. He can work just like a Trojan. And so I spent a few days up here grubbing with him, and I was like, who's going to ride this? Because it looked pretty challenging to me, and I saw where he was going, and where he built the big rock berms. Those were not built yet. He was in the process of building them, so he was had a pretty big machine and was putting them in place, and they really even 2015 I think it was finished, so we're coming up on 10 years ago. Everything's still in place. It's all locked in. The dirt erodes some.
Right.
But he placed that very well, and he said, well, the guy with big cojones and 6 inches of travel is really what this is for. And if you maintain your momentum, and I'm sure you know this because I know you're a really good rider, if you maintain your momentum and you just stay in it, you've got to be committed. I mean, and you just, when you think there's a line on the other side of those rocks, there's going to be something there. Right. I promise you.
Right. You got to trust the trail for sure.
That's crazy. Yeah. So you mentioned about black diamonds. Yeah. So we did not have any, double black diamonds, and we had a couple of riders who said, hey, let's do some hand build stuff. And that's where Pip and Jordy's came from.
That I've ridden that, and it's insane.
Pip is a local rider named Steve, retired firefighter. I mean, if you think you're too old to ride, he's 63 years old, and if I'm not mistaken, you still see a six-pack on him. So the dude he's total. Pip is a double black. It's kind of sketchy. It's steep in places, and Jordy's is just ridiculous. There was a young guy. He doesn't live in the area anymore, but it's kind of his legacy. There are 3 60-degree pitches.
Very steep.
Very steep. Pretty much everybody, even the best riders that I know who had GoPros, they were all on the ground, at some point during that ride. It's just going to, go out from under you.
It's a lot of work, that trail, for sure, to ride. So for someone who's never ridden at Coldwater and who's coming out, and they're obviously an experienced rider, we're not talking about beginners here. What's your recommended route?
Well, we have a couple of them. It's an experienced rider that can put in, say, 15 miles. If you leave from this, and we'll just talk from this parking lot here. So this is the bears, baby bear and mama bear. The baby bear to mama bear is a really fun opening because you get to go downhill.
Very wide. I mean, it reminds me, it's almost bike parking.
Almost. And
not quite that wide or that level, but you can get some speed.
And it's amazing, because they designed it really before bike parks and built it.
Yeah.
They kind of knew the direction bikes were going, and maybe they're so smart. I mean, Rich Edwards is one of the most intelligent trail design guys on the planet.
It was a big vision for sure. I mean, I'm thinking back to you were saying when they first laid it out that they were thinking 75 miles of trails. I mean,
this was pre-Bentonville. It was funny because at one time, I think we had 30 builders here. Like almost every trail builder of any record was here on this mountain working. And then we got that first 35 miles built, and they all went to Arkansas. Most of them.
Wow.
So, you start off from here, you got baby bear, mama bear, and then you can pick, papa bear is kind of an introduction to the tread that you're going to encounter on most of the mountain. Pretty rocky, some sidelines. And then, you hit Cassidy. Going up Cassidy, that's about a mile climb. That's going to introduce you to the, if you didn't eat right, if you put on a few pounds, you're gonna feel that.
Yeah.
And then now, we have the new tunnel. You can go through the tunnel, which is a culvert. It's a tunnel. And then you climb up Talladega. Talladega was named because when they were laying it out, that little canyon right there catches the sound from the racetrack.
Oh, cool.
So the cars were actually running on, and they could hear it. Huh. So then you get to the top of Talladega and you cross over the service road, Stebbins, and then you have some pretty good options, and a lot of them are downhill. So you can go Talladega to Trillium to Hare. And that'll give you kind of a long, fun downhill. And without going to the other parking lots, you can do an about face, the middle part of Hare, and then come back up Tortoise to Chillowy. That's a really good, not a ton of climbing, and Tortoise is a lot easier than Cassidy. And then when you get on Chillowy, you've got a couple of rock gardens to deal with. That's always fun, switchbacks. And then you have some roly-poly stuff. And I always tell people, you get back to the rabbit hole, and there's a water box there. So you can, if you need some water, you can get some. And then you continue on Chillowy. The next intersection, you've got a decision to make. So am I dying? Then you get to come down Goldilocks to Upper Papa Bear and then back to the parking lot with very minimal climbing. Am I pretty good shape? Then you continue Bullfrog to Rock Slot to Bomb Dog. Because from that intersection, that's about a mile of climbing to get to the start of Bomb Dog. And then another fun option is to stay on Chillowy. That section of Chillowy, Flow Motion built it. Valerie had started it, Valerie Naylor. And then Flow Motion finished it. And it flows into Bomb Dog about halfway down. So you get a nice, long, kind of a technical downhill. I say kind of technical. It narrows up some, and it has some rock features and some stream crossings. If it's raining, they've got water in them. But then you're downhill into Bomb Dog, and you don't have to climb again until that middle climb on Bomb Dog, that switchback climb. And then you have another mile of downhill on Bomb Dog. To finish up, and you cross over the service road there, and then you have a 1 mile climb back to your vehicle, back to that climbing.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's probably a 15 mile.
That's only 15 miles.
That's only about 15 miles. Yeah. Okay. Maybe a little bit more, maybe 17, but not much. And there's some recommendations on Strava. I think there's an all-day Coldwater. I think it's between 25 and 30 miles. So
that's almost half of it, maybe, right? 25 miles.
Yes. Yeah. And it is amazing. And that was actually laid out before Southern Traverse. So if you just want your heart broken and tail whipped, you throw Southern Traverse in there.
Yeah.
It's really tough. I mean, I have not put a clinometer on them, but I think some of those climbs, which they're not super long, it's not like miles long, but you'll have 100 yards at 20% grade.
Yeah, they're surprisingly
followed
steep.
by a rock garden that you get, that you can't see till you're right on top of it.
Yeah. Well, what kind of bike setup do you see most people bringing out here? What do you recommend?
It's a lot of people, a lot of our locals that they've moved from the road riding, and a lot of people got out of road riding or have cut it way back because of the cell phone. Mm-hmm. Everybody's, you're in danger. Back when I did a lot of road riding 20 years ago, we were just a nuisance. They had to deal with us, but they saw us.
Right now
they're not even looking. They just hit you at 60 miles an hour and keep, what was that?
Yeah.
A stick. So we have a lot of people who are transferring over from road, and they fell in love with gravel, and then they see all of us out on mountain bike trails, and so they go get a hardtail. And we're like, well, that's, if you're less than 30 years old and rubbery and you haven't had a lot of broken bones, and a hardtail at Coldwater it's not an impossibility, but it takes a certain rider willing to put up with a lot of vibration. So I recommend a full suspension, of course. The new bikes are wonderful, and everybody builds a really good bike, especially when you get to the carbon frames. You want some pretty good suspension, and wheels are important, but I don't. Everybody loves carbon wheels, but if you're the kind of guy that just cringes every time a rock bumps against your carbon fiber, then don't bring that to Coldwater. So a lightweight wheel set is ideal, and then tires. If you don't have sidewall protection, you're probably going to be spending some time standing on the side of the trail changing your tire.
Yeah.
So it is a heavier, beefier bike is best for Coldwater. So 130 travel. I mean, I've seen some bikes now. Some of these that really work well at 120, but 120 would probably be the bare minimum. And then up to 150, 160, because you are climbing. We don't have a lift. There's nothing but your legs are going to get you to the top of the mountain, and that's why e-bikes have really gotten very popular at Coldwater. And
I was going to ask about that a little bit. So e-bikes have always been allowed here. Is that correct, or is that a new development?
Well, technically, an e-bike has a motor. Right. Motorized vehicles are not allowed on state lands property.
Okay.
But it has not been enforced here. They don't push me to do it, and I don't have a badge or a gun, so I can't enforce it. But we do encourage to come out and ride. We being either the city or NEBA, the Sorba chapter here, according to the Forever Wild, our state lands director, we could apply for an exemption. And so you technically have to have an exemption to be legal. So, it's a touchy subject. Some people hate e-bikes, and I've never adopted technology quickly on anything, but I was a fast adopter of e-bikes. Not really of my own accord. I mean, I've only had an e-bike of about 6 months, but I saw them come to the mountain, and I would see guys with e-bikes and acoustic bikes on their racks, and they would grab the e-bike and go. So they weren't, they weren't just pure e-bike riders, but if it enables a person that maybe life got in the way. Maybe they were a really, really good fit rider 5 years ago, and they had kids. They had a parent they had to take care of. They switched jobs. They moved. Something happened in their life that took them off the bike, but they still have that memory. They can get on the bike and go out 30, 40 miles and knock it out and just drag people all over the mountain. And so the e-bike allows that to happen. It has its place, and I make some of my hardcore friends really upset. I mean, I see a time in the future, 10 years from now, when if you want a non-e-bike, you're going to have to special order it.
Yeah. That's going to make a lot of people mad to hear that prediction.
Well, it's our whole purpose. We want to get more people on bikes. Yeah. We build trails. We want people outside.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say is, I've ridden e-bikes here and, 56 miles of trails. I'm pretty fit, but there's no way I could do that in a day. I would destroy myself. It would take pretty much all day.
A young man did it.
But with an e-bike, I can see everything. I get to enjoy the whole mountain.
Yes.
And for me, that wouldn't be possible without.
I mean, look, I consider myself old guard. I mean, I got into the sport in the mid '90s. Like I said, our bikes were terrible. I mean, when you look at them, when you look back on what we rode and what we rode them on, it's like, gosh, what was wrong with me? And that's why, there were a lot of our friends who said, there's something wrong with you if you like doing that. So the bike now allows you to go and hit things that we wouldn't have even thought of. And now we're out here building trails for the population. I mean, America's fat. I'm fat, I have a BMI, I can remember the last time I went to the doctor and I was telling him what all I do. And he looked at me, he looked over his glasses and he's like, you realize your BMI is over 31, right? And I was like, but
all bikes on bodies. I mean,
So I looked at him and I'm like, I'm fat, but I'm fit.
Right.
Heart rates, low resting heart rates, high 40s, low 50s, and I can't get it above about 160 right now, but that's 220 minus your age. That's kind of that thumbnail.
Right.
Yeah, roughly.
Yeah, you're right in that zone.
So the America is out of shape. So more trails close to home. That's IMBA's initiative. I thoroughly embraced that. We built a little 4-mile trail system in West Anniston, which those kids they can see Coldwater from their front porch, but they had no idea what it was. And now they can go out and ride. They're wide, easy trails. They're very easy to ride. You can ride them on a Walmart bike, so it's you can ride them on a Huffy. And I don't know if that's bad for me to say a Walmart bike, but a Target bike, an entry-level bike,
department store bike.
They can go hit that trail on anything they want. We need to get Americans, and people probably all over the world, we need Americans outside doing stuff. And mountain biking it's my hobby. That's my love. That's my passion. So I want to see more people on bikes.
Yeah.
And like my wife, she wants to come ride with me. She can't ride with me if she doesn't have a pedal assist. I mean, I may take my non-e-bike and she has an e-bike, and then we have a good day together.
Right. Yeah. Well, I mean, I think part of and I'm curious to get your professional take on this. I mean, there's lots of arguments that people have against e-bikes and why they don't care for them or why they don't think people should be riding them. But
so what are the arguments against them?
I mean, we won't get into all of them, but one of them, I think, is that they cause problems on the trails, either in terms of maintenance, they cause more wear and tear, or there are more user conflicts because of them, because of speed differentials. So I'm curious, in your role as a trail boss, do you see either of those problems because of e-bikes? Do they make it worse? Or is it just people? Is it just depends who the rider is?
I've heard those arguments. So I'm having a hard time remembering his name. It's on another podcast. Glenn is his first name.
He's somebody we've podcasted with.
He's a trail designer in New Zealand.
Okay.
He was at the Trail Builders a Trail Builders Association meeting in Georgia last year. He was as a matter of fact, he was the recipient, the lifetime recipient. So it's Glenn.
Okay.
So
Glenn. First name only.
When this podcaster asked him about, are you designing two-way trails? He looked at him like he'd lost his mind. He's like, why would we do that?
Yeah.
And so two-way trails have their place, to get somebody from point A to point B. Southern Traverse, that's a two-way trail. Chillowy, one of our, it's a two-way trail. Bomb Dog is not.
Yeah. Okay.
Hare is not. Our downhill specific trails need to be ridden downhill, only one direction.
Yeah.
So user conflict is a problem on a two-way, or potential problem on a two-way trail.
Yeah.
If we had 2,000 people here,
Be lots of conflict.
there would be a lot of conflict.
Yeah.
But it would be minimized because Rich laid out these trails. You're hub to hub. The two-way trails are designed. They don't have blind spots. They don't have berms.
Yeah.
They don't have jumps. I mean, a rider could jump up in the air on them. So your features are minimalized on the two-way trails. So I think Coldwater specifically could probably handle it. A busy day, even if people had e-bikes.
Yeah. And I don't know if people are thinking, even on a one-way trail, if they're thinking that speed differential is a problem on climbs, maybe, if you're not on an e-bike, you're going a lot slower up the climb, but that's just passing etiquette. I
think that goes to the person. It's not the bike they're on, because you can have expert riders who are, not very nice, and they're going to blow by you too,
going downhill.
And they're going to blow by you up and down. Right. So I think the problem may be, I'll take that part of the argument. An inexperienced person on an e-bike that doesn't understand passing could create an issue. And passing on a downhill, who does that? I've seen him in
people
races.
Do it. They'll get up close to you, right? They'll ride your wheel, and that's the worst
I have
feeling
seen it, but it was
when somebody does
during
that.
a race.
Yeah.
It was during a race.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if I've ever seen anybody just pass like I may have, like if me and four buddies are out riding.
Yeah.
And somebody gets out in front of me and they're just they're not feeling it. I'll go around them. It's not uncommon for me to just roll up behind somebody and start talking to them because I like to talk. So they may get the message, hey, I'm gonna pull over, but that's just, I think that's people, and I can accept that part of the argument that e-bikes can put inexperienced people who don't understand trail etiquette. But that's our problem. Yeah. That's the OGE's problem. Yeah. That's mine and yours. Because somebody brought that person out to the trail.
Right.
And they probably didn't have very good etiquette either. Yeah. So you can say, a bad teacher, is going to produce a bad student, or however you may want to say it. But, trail signage, and just be nice. There's no reason to be behind out here. We're all having fun. Now, there was a second,
maintenance.
The maintenance.
Yeah, do they cause more damage to trails than other bikes?
So high traffic. Okay, I can say that. I can take that
because you're covering more miles.
If you're covering more miles, but I don't believe that the e-bike, because it's heavy and it doesn't have enough power to spin the tire. So when they first started coming out, they didn't have very good batteries, but they did have power, and they were heavy. Yeah. And I follow them around. I'd follow them, and if they stood up and sprinted in turbo, they might leave a little dirt. They may lift it up. Yeah. But you know what? I weigh 250 pounds, and if I stand up and sprint, I'm doing the same thing. You're going to ban heavy riders,
and the weight issue riders? Too. Me on an e-bike versus you on a non-e-bike. Yeah, you're probably still going to outweigh me.
I had a switchblade. It was 30 pounds. I'm 250. Yeah. That's a lot of weight going up and down the mountain. And if I were, if I had the discipline that I had 10 years ago, I was fit and I could stand up and sprint on something. I don't really sprint too much anymore. But, I just can't take that argument. I've had a professional trail builder say, well, it allows more people to cover more miles. So, yeah, it does create the erosion. But you know what? That's kind of, if Coldwater had 1,000 people a day, I would repair that and just grin and smile and laugh and just keep right on trucking.
Yeah.
I want that. Now let me put a caveat. There is a trail system in Dothan. It really was not laid out to handle the number of people, and the entire trail system is two-way. They've had some issues.
Okay.
I mean, the trails are easy enough for walkers, for moms with strollers, and yeah, if you have a bike that can go 20 miles an hour, especially with an inexperienced rider, and they're facing each other.
Yeah.
It goes back to are you a rude person or are you a nice person?
Right.
It's maybe they could change it to directional Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I don't really know what their answer is. I know that they've had some issues.
Yeah.
And that is a Forever Wild Land Trust. And the leaders there they've tried to enforce, the no e-bike. I know that they handle a little bit different than we do.
Yeah.
And
it seems like it's working here. I mean, you mentioned that it's not totally legit, completely legal, but there haven't been any issues.
There have not been issues that you're talking about. And look, I have a vested interest in somebody tearing these trails up.
Yeah.
So I looked pretty careful and I had to give it my thumbs up. I don't see where they're going to do more damage than a heavy rider that is fit. Because, I've seen some 230, 240 pound guys that come out here and they knock out 50 miles. I mean, they're just beasts.
Yeah.
And I can't tell them, well, look, you can't go ride. You rode yesterday. You put in more miles than you should have.
Yeah.
I can't even fathom that. So I don't have a problem with the e-bike. I have one now myself. I love it. Look, just personally, I can go and test an area or section that I've reworked in my work clothes. People can't see me. I'm wearing a pocketed t-shirt and jeans. Yeah. I can get on my e-bike and go session an area that I've worked because, if I've compacted it and got everything in place, but I don't have the distance or the height just right. I don't have the lip just right. Then while I've still got the machinery there, then I can redo it. If I've moved on and I'm miles and miles away, and I got to just live with it until the next time I come to that area. So.
Right. Yeah. Well, so I know there's a big lifetime race coming up at Coldwater in October. So I'm curious, what kind of work and planning has gone into that, and what that means for the trails to have an event like that.
Well, we'll get to see how 1,000 people out here do.
Right. Your dream is coming true.
My dream is coming true, and we're hoping that, of course, guys, we're getting pretty close. We're basically in September. This is the end of August, so less than 2 months, or right at 2 months.
Yeah.
It's been a lot of work for me. Of course, it's a labor of love. I mentioned over the winter. I built the exit trail for it. It's called the Leadville Express. I let them name it too. Yeah. That's what they came up with. Cool. So Micah's he's my contact for Lifetime. He's the promoter. So building that trail and keeping it keeping the vegetation off of it because it's a new trail.
When did you finish it?
Technically, I finished it in February.
Oh, so it's had the whole spring and summer to
yes, and buddy, I tell you, this rain, it goes through a power line crossing, and when I was building it, I knew that kudzu was there. The kudzu's in the south, and I did my best to pop all of the their little root balls.
Yeah.
Pop them out and throw them off to the side. And it looked almost like a road. It looked very wide. I built it wide on purpose.
Yeah.
We're talking about the passing on a downhill, and it's a downhill on the race. You're going downhill. So I wanted it to be, passable.
Because it's also, that's toward the start of the race, right? So is the field spread out by that point?
Well, it's actually the end of the race.
Oh, okay.
It's at the very end because it's when you exit, you cross over Highway 202, and then you go Lagarde Street, and then you hang a right onto 10th, and then you've got 2 blocks to the finish line.
Okay.
So it is the last chance for a dirt passing. I envision, hopefully, we don't have one guy out there killing everybody. I would like to see, 4, 5, 6 riders that, they still got a little smoke in the leg and they want to be number 1 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
And they're going to sprint and pass each other. But it also has to double as a climbing trail because it brings you up from that Glen Addy trailhead. We had Betty Carr was a local advocate for cycling, so we called it Bulldog Betty.
Okay.
So that's and the Anniston High School is the Bulldogs. So
nice.
So it kind of fit very well. So I had to build that trail, and then of course the tunnel, which is basically it's a culvert. It's 9 feet long, 9 feet tall. We bought it in panels. We opted to not get a single piece, so we had a big trail work day. Our local guy Tom Nelson, it was actually in Louisville where it's extruded. It's extruded aluminum. Yeah,
right.
It's extruded. It was a $10,000 tunnel.
Oh my goodness! What's crazy to me is that the club took this on. This wasn't, you guys didn't hire a professional trail builder to do this. This was volunteers. And
Nope. Tom raised the money and from sponsorships. So the one piece, steel galvanized, was going to be about 5,000, but it weighed 2,000 pounds.
Wow.
Pretty limited. It's in a pretty remote area of the mountain. It's on top of the mountain.
Yeah.
So I came up with the idea to fly it in place with a helicopter, and that would have been so cool, wouldn't it?
Dramatic.
Oh
yeah.
gosh. Well, we could have called the TV stations.
Yeah.
I mean, how many trail systems gets to fly in a trail feature with a helicopter? But I got outvoted on that. So we opted to get one that's in panels. So it was 8 panels and 340 bolts. And so I pulled it up with my little UTV and got it in place. And then we had a trail work day, and gosh, we probably had 20 people up here. It was really nice to see that many people come up and work. And, everybody's arguing with each other. And, I
saw pictures. It looked like it was kind of muddy too.
It was terrible. Yeah. There was mud everywhere. And I had tried to prepare the area, but it just kept raining, so I just had basically a dip in the dirt. To once we got it completed, I took the excavator and just kind of pushed it in place. And to see what it looked like then and what it looks like now, that was a lot of dirt. I probably moved, you got to remember, a 4,000-pound excavator.
Okay.
I probably moved the equivalent of 3 triaxles of dump truck.
Yeah, wow.
It's been a lot of dirt. So almost every chance I had, I was up there working on it, doing the other things, tree removal, because every storm knocked down trees. It's just been a really busy year.
Yeah.
Busy year. Even if we had not had the tunnel and the new trail, I would have been pretty busy just trying to get the trees and control the vegetation. So clearing the parking lots, I've taken a box blade and kind of straightened out the parking lots, got them a little smoother. That's probably it. I mean, and then I told Micah that I would rake and blow pretty much the whole course before they got here. So I've been doing that. Every time I'm in an area, I go blow, 2 or 3 hours, and I should have everything cleared off. And then hair has taken a pretty hard hit. It was in its rotation to have some rework. So I will, once I get the tunnel completely finished and don't need the excavator there, I will move across the mountain, and that's where I'll be working probably when the race hits.
Okay.
So I'll be on the lower Hare area. It's gotten really rough because these rains have not been like little spring showers.
Yeah.
We've had
storms.
overnight rains drop 3 and 4 inches.
Yeah.
And when I was in Mobile, a 3 or 4 inch rain, it just went out into the Gulf. It was just there. Here, though, it just piles up and just takes off running, and it destroys everything in its path.
Yeah. Do you anticipate a lot of work and maintenance after the race?
Well, the normal stuff. I don't know. We've never had this many people show up at one time. We've had a couple of races where we had 200 people, and but they were usually enduros. If we have, because there's a run race too. So Friday is the 50K run and 50K mountain bike race. So those guys are going to all make one lap. And then on Saturday, there's no run race. It's just going to be the 100K where they make 2 laps. And I hope that the trail just holds up. I think it will. I mean, it's just more laps doesn't seem to hurt it. It's almost like it helps it. It creates the line. It dials them in.
Yeah.
Whereas, if you don't have people riding it, then just the rain and the erosion just works, rocks loose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people don't, and maybe it's more non-bikers don't realize that, it is the rain that does more of the way more than bike tires. Bike tires actually, like you're saying, in a lot of cases, it helps it. It beds it in.
It creates a line. It's like, it's kind of like on the highway. There's not a lot of debris that's on the main highway. It's off to the side.
On the shoulder where the bikes
tend to want to, so you have a flat tire. So I think when I was road riding, those, what are they called? Gator skins. The gator skins were that's what you pretty much have to go with because you're off on the side. There's little bitty sediment, little bitty really tiny rocks. They work into your tire, and next thing you're going down one of our steep runs, and you've got a flat tire. That's terrible.
Yeah. Well, it's exciting to have that race come here for sure and to showcase the work that you and everybody in the community has done to make this trail system possible. I don't know if I've mentioned it on the podcast before. I'm sure I've mentioned it in articles, but Coldwater is one of my favorite places to ride. I live in Atlanta, which is an hour and a half ish. Yeah.
One who wrecked.
Yeah. But to me, I mean, this is where I love to test bikes. This is where I love to just ride for fun. It's one of the closest places to Atlanta.
Yeah.
Actually, a lot of people will go up to North Georgia to the mountains there, but
they're great. They're fun.
But the quality of trails here is really special, and
Well,
really
most of the trails
all the work.
up north, I say up north, in North Georgia, North Carolina. I think DuPont was laid out, but a lot of your epic, Bull and Jake. Well, Jake was probably laid out, but they were the old school epic trails. We just kind of adopted. It was an old Forest Service road, an old skidder road. And it was fun. So when this was one of the first big projects, according to Rich, that it was laid out. They had a clean slate. They had. At the time, I think 4,000 acres. They've continued to buy the in holdings, so we're probably approaching a 5,000 acre, fairly clean slate. And the equestrians wanted to have access, and this is another one of those that's people get upset with me. The service roads could probably have equestrians on it, but it takes a certain type of horse. Because they don't know when they're going to come up on a trail where we're going 30 miles an hour or 3 miles an hour. So it takes a certain type of horse, and there's really no access point for them. They would literally have to park in town and walk in. So the trails, the equestrian trails, are on the other side of the town near our mountain bike trails at McClellan.
Yeah. Well, Marcus, thanks so much for taking the time to talk with us today. It's super impressive to hear just how much goes into keeping Coldwater in top shape. And I know riders will appreciate the work that you and your team put in to make it such a great experience.
Well,
so thanks.
It's been a good experience. I listen to your podcast a lot, especially when I'm on the excavator, because I'm usually on it for an extended period of time. So, and you keep your podcast around an hour or so.
That's right. This one might go a little over, but it's great.
Well, I'm chatty. Everybody in town.
That's what makes you a great guest. Chatty guests. That's what we need. So also to our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to the Single Tracks podcast so you don't miss the next one. And you can find more interviews, gear reviews, and trail recommendations over at our website, singletracks.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll catch you on the next episode. Peace.